Hey everyone, we are finally back with a Metro Siege update video, and by we, I mean of course with me as always is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going?
And we've got a lot to cover. If you've been a kind of long-time watcher of these update videos, just through a kind of universal coincidence, Corey, myself, and Alex Brown, the programmer of Metro Siege, all our day jobs just coincidentally needed to put us in kind of crunch time mode and really eat up most of our time and a lot of our energy. We were still able to make decent progress with both projects, meaning Metro Siege and our other project, Damon Claw, but it definitely was slower and more, working while you're tired on top of, like you finally finish your day job and you make a little bit of progress. But thank goodness that's over. All three of us are now much back onto a more normal day job schedule. If you've seen, I'll make sure to link to it, our very recently released Damon Claw update video. We made some really nice, very pretty, thanks to Corey, improvements to level 2 of Damon Claw. And in Metro Siege, we've made a lot of great progress. And the cool thing is, Alex Brown, the programmer, being so smart, once he was out of that crunch time that really restricted his progress and the kind of workflow on Metro Siege, he realized that this was an opportunity to improve the kind of workflow toolchain to further decouple any potential block. So in other words, when you have multiple team members working on many things, the way it was until extremely recently, as an artist or even someone like scripting the logic for what enemies show up when in a level, to really know what you did looks good and works well and plays well, you have to see it in-game. Until you really see it all working together in-game and experience it, you don't know for sure. And until very recently, all team members that did anything relevant would have to wait for Alex to be awake and available and make a build, and for that build to upload so that you could then download and check. So obviously, not only does that very often, especially with each of us living in a different time zone, you'd have to wait sometimes an entire day or more to get the new build, and you'd have to just kind of find something else to work on or not work on the game until you get that build back. And Alex, the genius that he is, made an amazing builder on a server. So now, if I'm updating spriter animations for enemies or the players, or for the objects that are breakable, all that kind of stuff, if I'm cleaning up a tile set or changing the tile map for a level, the level scripting where the camera will lock at certain points and then certain enemies will come on and then it unlocks after you kill certain enemies, all that stuff now, no matter which team member is working on it, they can make the build instantaneously online. It's literally a process that takes about a minute to get the build made and then download it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you guys can do that. Because even though really quick, small iterations are important for almost all games, it's even more important for these kind of action games with lots of character animation, because you are making lots of tweaks quite often, and you do need to see them.
Yeah.
Even with this tool, I worked with this tool a while back, but it's been a while for the level 1 boss.
Yep.
I think there's more features. You said this has been updated, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Since the last time you worked on it for the level 1 boss, there have been a lot of incremental kind of workflow UI improvements, a lot of other faster ways to do things. I don't remember where it was where you left off, so I can't say exactly what those things are. I don't know if you could do this back then, but if you I think it's right click on a frame, you could clone and add. So you know how a lot of times you've got a frame, the next frame you need is going to be extremely similar to the frame you just made, but with a couple of tweaks of body part positions. So now you can literally just choose that one option. It creates a clone of that frame you just made and puts it right there in sequential order and selects that frame ready to edit. So it just makes the workflow so fast and seamless. So there's been a lot of things like that, and some other really cool stuff that I've requested that it's not in the build yet, but I hear he's implemented it, and maybe I just didn't download the latest build yet, or maybe he's about to release it. One of the things I requested recently would be the ability to to automatically purge the entire project of any unused animation frames to make sure that you save as much memory as possible and that the artist is not accidentally perfecting and cleaning up frames that aren't used in any animation anyway. One of the most important things the programmer or one of the programmers on a team for a big complicated project like Metro Siege that requires tons of animation and really benefits from a lot of iteration, the best thing they could do is make sure to continue to improve the workflow, because not only will that save the artist a bunch of time, the kind of theme of this update video is probably going to be this idea of work, make a change and try it out and see if it's better or worse. If someone can very effortlessly we just got a subscriber on we use the same setup for our live streams. So I just got a notification. It'll be in the video. That's pretty funny. Thank you very much, Vincent, for subscribing. I forgot that was all plugged in. But but anyway, so that makes a massive difference to not only the overall speed at which the whole game gets finished, but the final quality of a game where people got to iterate as much as they wanted versus, okay, good enough because the tool chain is terrible, or there's these frustrating things, or we have to wait for somebody to wake up in another time zone and make a build, and that could be a day or more. These kind of things make a massive difference to the overall quality of a completed game.
The way I always imagine it is the closer you can get to where the tools aren't in your way, all that sort of stuff isn't in your way anymore, and where it's your creative energy being just flowing right into the creation as effortless as possible, because then more time can be spent making it the quality it needs to be.
Exactly.
Matching your actual vision. So,
and that's the thing. You have to see it in the context. That's the only great way to iterate. Your game will be more and more mediocre the less all of the things gel well together. And that's the whole point of every team member being able to just make a build and see what they're working on in the full context, visually, gameplay-wise, in every way, makes such a difference to how quickly they can achieve that kind of perfect version of what they wanted to do and move on, instead of saying good enough and moving on because of time constraints and frustration levels. That's going to just drastically speed up Metro Siege development from here on in, on top of the fact that we're no longer on crunch time. But in the meantime, and unfortunately, viewers, I can't show you everything directly in Metro Siege yet. I'll be putting in some footage here and there, but I can show you indirectly in these tools what we've been working on. So as you might know if you've been following this, there will be in the relative near future an Amiga Bill appearance by the other team members, John Takiris, the musician and co-artist and co-kind of level scripter, and Alex Brown, the amazing programmer I've been talking about, are going to be on Amiga Bill, and with a new build that will finally be a public kind of world premiere of much more of the Metro Siege game, including the full level 1 boss fight and then the full level 2. And because this live stream is taking a little longer because hoity-toity Emmy award-winning Amiga Bill won't have time for a while because he's out shooting fancy movies or films or whatever, it's going to be a little while.
Congratulations.
Yes, absolutely.
Congratulations. Bill,
I hope that was very obvious sarcasm, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer and more deserving person, Amiga Bill. You kick butt. But point is, because there's been time, and because Alex is no longer on this crunch that was eating so much of his time and energy, we've been really doing everything we can to get level 3 shaped up in time for the stream, and that's going very well. But the cool stuff that's been happening now, before there were no thugs in it, and we did show in previous update videos the work in progress thugs, which have been cleaned up quite a bit, not perfectly, but while I'm talking, I can sort of show this is one of the 2 core thug types. This one does more kick-based basic fighting style. And then the other one, some of his body parts aren't perfectly proportioned or cleaned up yet, but it's just a matter of...
I really like that get-up. You pulled that off very well.
Thank you. To save memory, because remember, this game is being developed so it'll actually run on a 30-year-old 16-bit computer, so memory constraints are really severe. not only do we have to animate characters by using the same few body part images and moving them around per frame, we also need to share body part images as much as possible between the basic thugs in that level, so we can have multiple basic thugs and maybe a sub-boss before you get to the boss of the level, to fit that all on top of potentially two very different looking players who don't share any body parts with each other, unlike Bimmy and Jimmy from Double Dragon.
This is like Orange Pants Gang or something.
Yeah, exactly, yes. with the rolled up golden cuffs for some reason. Right. I was definitely going for more of that 80s, early 90s retro for this particular thug's fashion sense. But I wanted the two thugs, even though they share the same arms and the same lower body, I wanted them to look very different. So I'll load up one of the other thugs shortly. But we don't want just visual differences. We want gameplay differences too. That's obviously really important. So there's going to be AI differences in the way they move and when they attack and how frequently they do a given kind of attack. But also, like I said, this guy's a kicker, the other guy's a puncher, so that affects range and timing and stuff like that. Again, all of this is unfinished, and it always looks more wonky when it's not. That's like putting his leg at chamber for the kick, or in Kung Fu kind of called cat stance, and then he follows through with the attack, and then the second, which you can't tell what it is. Again, this is all about context. I know how this is supposed to look in game when more than half of how it ends up looking is the movement the programmer makes the character do while he's playing these little bits of animations. But anyway, the point is, after this character does a really quick kick that is more meant to stun you, like a jab but with his foot, his follow-up is a much stronger kind of jumping knee. But what's funny is, when you're an animator for video games, if a character has to fly forward doing a jumping knee, you need to animate the character not flying forward, but getting into the right body positions based on how he's supposed to move in the game. And if you can't iterate on that with the programmer to get them to sync up and look proper, you can end up with a very bad looking move in a game. But anyway, point is, the thugs are moving right along, and I should get them to a very nice level of cleaned up by the time it needs to make its actual in-game premiere in the Amiga Bill stream. All right, so this guy, you could see he's reusing what will be the same arms, although there's cheating going on where some of the body part images don't have the same tattoos yet. But they will be the same arms and the same lower body. But now we've got a very different fashion sense with the guy wearing the knitted
beanie.
Beanie, yeah, kind of a beanie type hat. Yeah, exactly. And then he's got the kind of cut off sleeve. It was like a denim jean, and it's now a vest. So just a very different look from the other guy. And the other way to make him look different and play different is he does a jab followed by a strong uppercut, and his strong uppercut move also will be sliding forward. So right now in the game it looks weird because they do their jab move, and then when they do their strong move, they don't move forward with it yet. So it's like oddly short range and just looks not powerful because they're not like flying forward when they do that second attack. Anyway, point is, on the Amiga Bill stream, you will be seeing a close to finished general level 3. You won't be seeing the person you're chasing and the boss fight at the end, but most of the other stuff will likely be in there by then. And the other really cool addition, let me switch over to promotion, this is the kind of behind the scenes. This is the pixel art program that we use to create the actual tile-made backgrounds and levels for Metro Siege. And you could see there's weird color things going on. There's obviously also not any back layers or anything. That's because on the classic Amiga computer, you use a little co-processor chip called the copper to change colors. You could see how we're only using 16 color indexes here, but we can change any of those indexes we want to in kind of full horizontal strips going down the screen. And that's why the floor looks really weird, because we're using that one background color, which currently is the transparent checkerboard pattern. We're changing that over and over again to make a nice gradient in the floor. And then this weird green color, that gets changed into a totally different floor color that helps to add the texturing and further smooth out the gradient on the floor. But anyway, that's why it looks like this. But the point is, the really cool thing is Alex figured out and programmed, and now it's fully functional, a way to animate these frightened passengers. So before they were already in game, but they were completely static. And even though obviously having them animated would be better, we already have so much going on in the level with lots of layers of parallaxing, and there's big giant seats in the foreground and 2 players and 4 enemies on screen and all this stuff. I thought it would be a little too hopeful to ever get into animating those tile-made characters into the background. But Alex had a brilliant kind of realization that these characters are already virtually perfectly overlapping where most of the fighting action is already going to be happening on screen. And because of the way the Amiga works, you have to redraw the background graphics every time if something else moves on top of it, every time you update the screen. So basically, he figured out a system where animating the tiles will be almost 0 performance hit. It's already working in game. I can't show you yet. Tune into the Amiga Bill stream. We'll obviously let you guys know as soon as we know the exact date it will be there. And going back on the topic of iteration, now that we have this technology, it could be used in future levels we haven't done yet. But we can even go back and add that as a polish step to the previous levels we already made, depending on how much memory, what we could do to squeeze even more goodness. And Corey and I had talked in a previous video, we really want to bring back that early 90s, late 80s Hollywood vigilante movies. That kind of inspired this entire genre. In too many of these games, like everyone you see you beat up, there's just thugs and the good guys. And, you know, like in games like Golden Axe, they managed to put in some villagers that would run away in little sequences. And it's so good that we have these opportunities to sprinkle them in and remind people that, you know, this is supposed to feel like a real world in a city that is suddenly under siege by all, hence the name, by all these thugs. It is possible, fingers crossed, John Tsakiris, the amazing musician of Metro Siege, is trying to get a new song for level 3. You know, level 1 and 2 already have their own original songs, which I freaking love. So I can't wait. I hope he has the time. But aside from that, the only other Metro Siege progress that's been going on, and you may have seen a past video where I've been doing these large full-body illustrations in American comic book style of the characters of Damon Claw, and also recently I did one of the basic thugs for Metro Siege. So the latest illustration is for the big fat basic thug, kind of. He was sort of a mid-boss in level 1 named Mule. But that is it. We won't keep you any longer. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching and who made it the whole way through my kind of rambling.
If you enjoy our content and want to keep up to date on our games, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you want to support our projects, consider becoming a patron. The link's in the description, and we'll see you soon.